And happy Monday morning to all of our listeners. And thank you for joining us today or in the future. Hi, I'm Walter, and I'm the Dutch mentor. We're excited here again to be to for a Monday morning to have a Monday morning chat about leadership. And today I'm joined by Adam Weinstein. Interesting enough, Adam and I have met maybe in periphery several times as he was exiting many of the leadership roles and organizations that I started joining, but in conversation and knowing about him, he has left a legacy behind, and that's what we will be exploring today: the highs and the lows, and the importance of how emerging leaders can gain the skills, knowledge, and abilities. But of course, it's important for Adam to tell a story. And Adam, thank you for joining me this morning. Why don't you make an introduction of yourself and tell us a little bit about your journey, and then we'll get into the conversation.
Thank you, Walter. Yeah, so my journey's been gone. It's been about almost 30 years now. I left Long Island University back in the early 90s, and I started off in healthcare working at Brookdale Hospital Medical Center in Brooklyn, East New York. I immediately started networking, talking to my mentors or my senior supervisors, and they recommended quite early in my career to join the American College of Healthcare Executives. But actually, that came up in the second part of a conversation. It was important to join a local network. That was at the time the Metropolitan Health Administrators Association. Many of our members and listeners here today will now know it as the Healthcare Leaders of New York. So for the next 10 years, I used it as a great opportunity to not only network amongst my peers and senior leaders, but I also learned a lot of new skill sets. So to be more direct or sincere about that, it was simple things that some take for granted. So what is that? That's help setting up venues, finding speakers, coordinating speakers to come to events, doing the awards dinner, in the sense of organizing attendance, organizing guests, organizing corporate sponsorship. As difficult as that may sound or not sound, those are things you really don't learn at work from time to time, especially early in your career. So that kind of catapulted me to certain membership positions or senior positions with the organization. And at that time, and still now, because it's even stronger today than it was then, you have positions like members at large, secretary, treasurer, and so on. To skip any one of those positions when you're young is an advantage. We all want to do that, but there's no rush. You have to kind of be humble and learn as you go. So I kind of used it as a ladder. So I went from one position to the next position, and it was exactly the way to go. I learned a lot through that process. At the time, the American College of Healthcare Executives moved towards chapter status, or was looking to remove from the healthcare executive group to have actual chapters around the country. So we were one of the first 14 or 15. The number is really 13, but we don't like to say the number 13, right? So we were one of the first 13 in the country to become an official chapter. It wasn't signed off, but it was known that we were the top 13 in the country to go in that direction. Now, this is the good part and the bad part, right? You wish to be the president. You want to be the president. At the time, I was the president for Metropolitan Health Administrators Association. But going towards the chapter status was a lot of work. And we were given the task, unfortunately or fortunately, and fortunately is the way to say it, is that we had merged 2 to 3 organizations with us. That was the Women's Health Network, the Hudson Valley Healthcare Executive Group, plus the President Association, which we know as Metropolitan Health Administrators Association. And that was a daunting task. Nobody wanted to give up their name and their history. It was a learning process for everybody. I was probably, at that time, I was obviously very early in my career, the first 5 to 10 years, and everyone took a step back and I was left stepping forward. So everyone kind of rallied behind me. So for the next 2 years, we remained we were still Metropolitan. We weren't sure what we were. We started calling ourselves the Healthcare Executive Coordinating Council. And then we came officially 2 years later as the Healthcare Leaders in New York. So we went from approximately 300 plus members to about 600 to 700 members. And then it's gone over at least 200 to 300 each and every year thereafter, because as people join the American College of Healthcare Executives, they pick a chapter. So that was self-fulfilling, and that was the way to go. It's a great thing for a young healthcare executive to do. You get to network, you get to find out if you do not know something at your own level, you're able to call someone, because there's someone in your position across the city or across the state, and you feed back from each other, and everyone supports everyone. It's a great opportunity for my career. As years go by, people leave the state, people leave the city, right? And also, people in Tennessee, people in Florida, people in Hawaii. James Lee, who's recently in Hawaii, he was I used to call him my wingman, because I wasn't the president for Maha for only 1 year. I had to be the president for HLNY for the next 2+ years. So I've stayed in contact. Mentoring is a big part of this. You kind of go, I call it up the hill, on the hill, and then at the hill. You want to stay at the top of the hill. So I've been mentoring all along. Never left ACHE. I'm a fellow, recertified fellow a couple of times at this point. I've been active on the national level with ACHE, with reference to being an ACHE regent and a number of their committees across the board. So it's a great opportunity to grow. You get everything at work you want to get, but this is even more, and it helps you build self-confidence.
Adam, thank you for taking us on that really amazing journey. And as somebody who's active today, thank you for paving the way. I understand how hard work it is, especially in the early days, to get things started and get the ball rolling. And then as it snowballs, just know that today we have over 4,000 HLNY members.
Right.
Now, one of the things that I find interesting, and that's what I'm trying to explore, is that the importance of people coming out of their MHA, MBA, MPAs, and I made a post on that this week, is that there is a gap between people learning in class versus actual leadership. And that is really the gap you're talking about. Not only where I encourage people to to design a very robust roadmap on how can I get from where I am today to my big dream. What steps do I need to take? And I break that down into that 70-20-10 approach. 70% is on the job learning. 20% is through a really good coach and a mentor, internal or external. And 10% is continuously formal learning, like face-to-face credit with ACHE. So with that said, the 70% is really kind of like the road that you paved for many by having a great network of and HLNY that offers opportunities for people to go into these different types of committees to continue to learn outside of your current role or responsibilities. So talk a little bit to me about and to the audience about how can somebody who is an emerging leader who wants to continue to expand upon it, how can they get involved in something? Why would they need to sign up with ACHE? Why is this so important to them? And how can they really get started?
So that conversation happens pretty much all the time. You've experienced it. I'm sure many of our listeners experience it on both sides of the plate. For me, you do receive phone calls from time to time. People reference other people to speak to other people, and those are through professional relationships. And I would say just the last couple of months, I received a phone call from somebody I haven't spoken to in a while during my time in New York Presbyterian Queens, and he was like, "Adam, listen, I know you're in the position you're in. However, I know you teach at St. John's, and I know someone who's not only a recent graduate from a school, it was in Virginia or wherever it may have been, but this person is, in their first position, and they want to know what the next step should be." So you have those conversations more than you think, and they're helpful. They're not only helpful for you because sometimes it puts you back on track, because sometimes we ourselves, miss a step from here to here on what we should be doing, right? But you know what? It's very nurturing, and it's very. I think it leaves you when you end that phone call. I'll tell you what that phone call is in a second, with the sense of, you know what? I just told this person X. Have I even been doing that now the last year or two? And so I always say you got to reflect in the mirror. It doesn't have to be officially you write something down, but you have to reflect yourself and say, what have I done maybe the last 6 months, last 7 months, last year? And am I moving in the right direction? So what I usually tell these people is, listen, are you in ACHE, the American College of Healthcare Executives? Are you a member of the chapter? Because you may not be in New York State, could be somewhere else, and you can join other chapters. So we understand, because maybe you have affiliations there, family there, what have you. So maybe you're looking to move in a couple of years, right? So it's always good to expand your network. But I tell the person, I said, listen, it's good to have that as something that someone can reflect to on your resume, right? But you have to be involved. So that's a lot of things to different people. I tell them you crawl before you walk. So joining organizations want the first step. The second step is make it a point to, I realize with COVID the last couple of years, this has not have been the norm, but you have to go to the meetings and get that relationship, get that face-to-face time. And then, yeah, there's a Zoom call, we can do that and so on. But it's always important to get that face-to-face time. It just helps for a number of different reasons, which we all experience day-to-day lives. Try to get yourself involved with the membership committee. Very simple things just to get people to know your name, that you're willing to do things. And I think people start to learn who you are, and all of a sudden, like, listen, hey, Walter's done this for the last 2 months. He seems open. Let's talk to him about the next step. And then the whole process starts. And then with ACHE, it's really more of the same. Sometimes it's a little bit more distant learning. You have the face-to-face credits where we earn credits for recertification, and you have the other continuing credits that you need. We're familiar with that process, but those offer a more professional. When I say more professional, it's more of a national type of program because you're doing it from a distance. Unless you're going to a specific program in Florida or maybe Virginia or Pennsylvania or what have you, and they have the national programs around the country to earn more credits, but it's always hard to get to for some people. So those local chapters are key. Being an adjunct professor at St. John's University, these conversations happen more for me on a semester basis. Having these conversations, how to direct people, and I think, I love the fact that they're interested, and I love the fact that they cling on to you because it's a good positive thing. Sometimes I wonder, even universities or even sometimes our own organizations, sometimes we don't push that enough. So it's a great opportunity to offer that service to them.
Yeah, I think it is key to take action, right? And that's really the thing I promote on when I say let's develop an individual development plan. We can put pen to paper. We can talk about your big dream and taking the small actions. At the end of the day, people need to take action. They need to go out and do something. And so I'm engaged now with the to help actually New Jersey chapter to continue to grow and really emulate some of the great things that Healthcare Leaders of New York has done. I think one of the fundamental responsibilities of somebody who carries the FACHE credential behind their name is to pay it forward. I put great effort into posting value-added materials on a daily basis in the different chapters to start a conversation. But I'm not seeing per se the traction of the people getting engaged around both the digital network, and it could be Instagram, could be Facebook, could be LinkedIn on a more professional level. What do you think the reason is? And maybe you have a little insight from your students, right? As an adjunct professor, what is the reluctance, or are they still not seeing the bigger picture on why it is so important to be engaged in conversation from a continuous growth perspective if they really want to continue to climb the career ladder, right? There's a traditional way of doing it by hard work, but networking is absolutely key, and being engaged in conversation, asking good questions, or even posting relevant material is key to their success.
I agree. I think the last couple of years has been a speed bump for some. I think that's a definite, and I can appreciate that concern. Things weren't what they were for a number of years, obviously for many years, and then we hit a speed bump with COVID, and it's unfortunate. We went through a hard time, but as we come out of that, I guess that's where we are at this point. It's hard sometimes to put a definition for that, but I think we're moving in the right direction from that time for the last couple of years. I speak to people daily. For example, HLNY has their awards dinner tomorrow night. I'm very interested to see who attends. I think it's going to be a very positive program. Has been a positive program, right? 400 or 500 people attending on an annual basis. And I think everyone's going to be very excited to see everyone. So I think we're moving in the right direction. I think the reluctance with these type of podcasts and calls and Zoom calls and things like that, it's still new to people. It's comfortable. It's not comfortable. We all commit time to do this, but when we commit time to do this, there are other distractions because the reality is you're still available, right? Because someone's on the other side of my door now wants to speak to me, but they know I'm in a meeting. But a meeting sometimes can be interrupted. It's not the same situation. So I think we're growing on both sides of that door. The people there need to know I'm not in New York State right now, in theory, right? I'm not in my office. I'm actually on an important call or something else, and it's a little bit different. I think we're growing in that direction. But when I speak to students and I speak to colleagues at my own level, your level, everyone's level, I think we're all struggling with let's move on, let's talk. But we have to make that time because, fortunately, with what has happened the last couple of years, I think people have been rightfully so worried about their own profession, just to make things happen at their own profession, right? Because nothing was the same. We had family that we were concerned about, friends that we were concerned about, And I think that's we're getting back to where we were. I think people are understanding, hey, we got to do this, we got to meet, we have to talk, we have to share information. And from what I've experienced just in the last couple of months, I think we're back. I think people are getting it. We're going outside, so to speak, is the best way I could put it. And just from the students I've spoken to this summer who were taking my class this fall, they seem very excited about the opportunity to discuss like my next steps or your next steps type of thing.
Yeah, yeah, it really is good stuff, and yeah, it's a shame. And the HLNY Gala is tomorrow night on Tuesday night. I actually have a ticket. If anybody wants a ticket and you cannot afford to go, email me at thedutchmentor@gmail.com. I'd be more than happy to give it to you. I ended up getting a great invitation to a commencement address to a graduating class up in Lake Placid for the University of Vermont paramedic class. It was difficult for me to pass it up. It is an honor to be invited. It's even a greater honor to hopefully inspire and motivate the next generation of paramedics to work at a high level and really make a difference in society. Again, all of these things that we do, and again, my deep philosophy is about pay it forward, right? Our conversation today, and that's the beauty of today, is yes, it is live broadcasted, but many people will look at it after the fact, and you can pick and choose. We all connect to different people. And there's going to be a group that's going to connect to Adam, and the words that you have spoken is absolutely going to make a difference to at least one person. And that's really what life and leadership is about, right? Is making an impact on somebody. And we have to learn to make time in our busy lives to not only have these conversations as a way to pay it forward, to sharing experiences, but even more important, we need to make time to grow and develop as leaders. As I have done, and I continue to do, right? I carve out time in my day and week to continue to read and learn and expand. So that's all been on the upside of leadership. Now, of course, there's always along the way in our career that we have some bumps along the way.
Mm.
And the true resilience of a leader is tested when you hit a bump in the road. So, share some of the difficult times or difficult transitions or choices you had to make in life that turned out positive or became a great learning event, right? And my simple philosophy is that there are no such things as failure. The only failure is if you ignore them. These
Right.
are all learning opportunities and redirections. So tell us a little bit about your career path and some experience that somebody else can learn from.
Sure. I mean, my career path, I would say the majority of the 30 years has been in acute care. I had a great opportunity to go to long-term care about 10, 12 years into my career. Um, I jumped at the opportunity. The opportunity was a great opportunity. It was just after the blackout that we had back in '03. It provided me an opportunity to develop emergency management systems and systems. What I mean by that is um, replace generators, develop a cogen plant. It was a wonderful opportunity. And then my experience working with the state and the city, just doing that alone, um, moved me back over to the acute care facility in the same organization to take on corporate compliance, to be responsible for Joint Commission for the next 12 to 15 years and go through those cycles every 3 years, in organizing and making things happen with all the 20 chapters and so many standards and the elements of performance. Then I left the field with another great opportunity to go into home care. It was a wonderful opportunity. Did that for about a year. And then people who knew me brought me back into acute care. And I did that for the next few years. And then I learned in the past year, people like Adam, people that others may not know or can help us out. So I went to private and today working for Titan Health and Security Technologies. They're based in California. They have a comprehensive patented programs, helping out with government, schools, businesses, hospitals, to provide emergency responses, which today's world is all about that, right? Regarding information, increased communication in an expedient manner, and for personnel, not only for management. So that's been a great journey now for almost the past year, and I welcome that opportunity. But at the same time, what I've learned is everyone's asking me, well, why are you doing that type of thing, right? So now acute care is knocking on the door again, so to speak. So I think what we're both saying in the last 20 minutes or so is that you got to keep on pushing the rock. And what I mean by pushing the rock is you're open to what's around you. You're constantly engaged. You're on your game. You're current what's about there as far as healthcare and operations. You're not on social media every moment of the day and boxed into a finite situation. You're trying to see what's out there and not assume. You can't assume that you know everything, and you have to be humble about that, because I, like you, we can have a conversation for 5 minutes, and then you could walk away. It's like, wow, I didn't know that, and I'm not walking away like, wow, Walter just, for 10 years I thought something different, and all of a sudden, hey, Walter, talk to me about this and for the next 6 months, because I had a totally difference of opinion, because we all have different experiences. I mean, the word
Yeah.
hospitals, the word nursing homes, adult homes, mental health, behavioral health, they all mean the same, but do they really? Because we all have different experiences when we're engaged in that. Maybe, it could be EMS, it could be anything, any part of that structure, right? Um, and we all have to take to heart that we're in a great profession, and we're not the only ones with advanced degrees. We're working with people with medical degrees. We're working with people with medical degrees with advanced degrees like masters and so on. And that goes for social workers. That goes for physical therapists, radiologists, EMTs. Everyone's moving in the right direction. Nurses, obviously, right? So you got to be humble through the process. Appreciate that person is as academically smart or smarter than you. The question is, how can we help each other? And I think that's the ultimate goal.
Yeah, absolutely. I have a similar approach and philosophy, and that's is that the most frequently asked question I have is that how long should I stay in a job? I take the simple approach as this, right? If you have a big dream and whatever that may be, you need to define what the value stream is to that big dream.
Right.
And it really should be your goal to pick up as many experiences, not just, touch points, but deep experience across the value stream to put yourself in the best possible position. And I use a 3-year approach. If you take a new job, even if it's a risky job outside and left hand turn or right hand turn of your journey outside, like you did from acute care to nursing home or home care, you can get stuck. You can get pigeonholed very
Mm.
quickly in a position like that unless you make this plan that I'm here to pick up deep experiences and then move to another opportunity when the opportunity arises. So my suggestion, and again, what we do is just provide guidelines, right? You have to
Right.
figure it out for yourself. The first year you immerse yourself into the organization, you really get to know the people and the process. The second year is all about problem solving and posting results.
Correct.
And then in the third year, you can start thinking about an exit strategy or to join either a grow in the organization that you're currently in, or to start looking at what is next on my value stream that is important to my big dream. And by taking those steps, sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't work out exactly. But that's where the agility needs to come in, right?
Correct.
And that's where you can start relying on the network that you have built over time. Somebody told me a long time ago that as you go climb the career ladder, the likelihood of your next role coming from a job posting or a recruiter are 20%. It's
Correct.
80% will likely come out of your network. They say, hey, I remember Adam from acute care. He was phenomenal. He had some really special. Let me have a chat with him and see if he would be right for the role that I have open in my organization.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's really the takeaway from the emerging leader. Don't skip around.
That's right.
Execute with a plan in mind, and then you can set yourself up for success over a period of time. But you need to post results, and that's where it brings us right back to the opportunity. If you're in a role of even a manager or an analyst, um, joining ACHI, joining Healthcare Leaders of New York or ACHI New Jersey, and joining these subcommittees, and just first observing what they do, and then actively be engaged and learn a new skill is so vital to the overall big picture approach of gaining the skills, knowledge, and abilities to become a highly effective leader.
I agree. I mean, that 3-year window or that map that you're discussing is is crucial. People could say it's 4 years, what have you, but that methodology of how you explained it and the steps that need to be taken are reality. Um, you know, I, I I think I say and do the same thing personally, and I think I do the same to others. I mean, my management style is more of a coaching management style, where it's like, you have to know your assignment, right? You know your assignment to execute, and you have to have the agility to get from point A to point B. So how do you get there? You got to prepare yourself. You got to work on that on a daily basis. And I think that's really important. And people also need to know we're both talking about your professional career and what you need to do. And listen, I raised the flag and carried the flag for the American College of Healthcare Executives my whole career. I'm fully aware there's other organizations out there more specific, maybe to finance and corporate compliance and things like that. And that's important too, to support your
Yeah.
your specific knowledge base where you want to go. but ACHE offers that broad umbrella, and it's board certified in your credential to move that way, and that's a major accomplishment. I think what sometimes people don't realize is that it's not an easy credential to get for some, and that should not scare
Yep.
people. Some people who don't have it, or and appreciate it, they understand us. We have the same conversation. Some are shied away from it, and they see your credential, and that kind of pushes some people away from you because you have the credential, right? And that's maybe not someone, even at the end of the day, maybe not understands the full picture, but that's okay. You have to be humble enough to understand what they understand and back up a little bit and say, listen, I have the credential. I moved in that direction. I was very lucky, I was pushing that direction, but I can even help you go in that direction. And I've done that with my own superiors in some cases at St. Vincent Catholic Medical Centers in the past and so on. So yeah, I mean, it's being humbled all the way through your career. Appreciate what you have. Try to get more because that's what you want to do as far as your credentials, and show that you're educated and show that you know something and know something specifically that maybe someone, that offers in a position. But at the same time, if there's an opportunity, you need to discuss that opportunity. You don't have to jump at the opportunity, but you need to learn more before you say no. That may be the direction the world's going in tomorrow. So yeah.
Yep. Yeah, listen, I think those are really, really good closing comments, Adam, on that part. Is that solid advice? And thank you again for joining me today. Again, we talked a little bit before that I think that pursuing your FACHE credentials is essential. We are in the process of developing a review course, and I look forward to working with you to bring some of your expertise to that class. It is our way of providing the insight from deep experiences across the board in order to advance our career, not our career, but the careers of the emerging leader, and by sharing our deep experiences. Thank you for joining today. We have an exciting guest next week. Her name is Ann Richardson. She is a disruptive leader. So we're going to talk a little bit about her innovative style, her disruptive style, her very pointed questions she asks of management, especially as we're coming out of COVID. These are all very relevant to stop that, what I call the bleed, right? Is the exodus of healthcare workers looking for other employment because they have lost the motivation, the inspiration to do the work that they do today. All right, Adam, you have a minute. Why don't you leave us with a final comment? And again, thank you for joining us today, and I look forward to continue to work together.
Listen, thank you very much. I mean, my last word with this whole discussion we had today is that it's an exciting career. What you put into it is really what you get out of it. Stay positive. If you have questions, ask, and seek that mentor and seek that colleague that you've worked with, and stay in touch. I mean, it helps. It helps all along the way, and never think someone knows either more or less than you. We're all on the same path.
Yeah, rock solid advice. And I'll leave it with this, that anybody have any follow-up questions for either Adam or myself, just email me at thedutchmentor.com. thedutchmentor@gmail.com. You can always check me out at thedutchmentor.com. I will be posting this in the HLNY chapter for further review. And again, let's join every week on a conversation about leadership. If you would like to be a guest and have a story to share, by all means, reach out to me. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Be uplifting to those around you and live with positivity in your heart. Thank you, and be well.
Thank you.